Hello, it's Martin and it's the middle of Easter holidays here in England. I booked a trip to Plymouth, but I clearly didn't plan this properly because I completely forgot about that fact, but it's my weekend off and I wanted to get away from London. So I thought I would take you along just to show you what it's like to run an electric car on a longer trip using the public charging network when basically all of the families are out and about. So this is a very unscripted video, but stick around to see how I get on. It's a very late start, but remember this is all about the journey, not the destination. Contrary to popular belief, I was able to plug in overnight, even though I do not have off-street parking because I live in a flat, which means that I'm starting off with a lovely 100% charge. So let's fire up the car. Air conditioning is running and it's showing 98 miles of range. That's not bad. Let's look at the route. My number one stop will be Motor Reading westbound. I want to try out the V4 Tesla superchargers. I need to do some emails there anyways. And yeah, it's looking like it's taking me directly through the centre of London. So I will give you a nice little tour of all the sites. Reset the trip computer so we can track all the stats. And that's it. Off I go. I can comfortably drop the car into green mode. That will give me a few miles of extra range, but as I said, I'm not very concerned. Full charge, warm outside at 18.5 degrees Celsius. So I can actually take my hat off, but it's quite windy, so we will see how that will impact efficiency. Of course, based on my previous tests, it doesn't really matter that much. I can leave those linked in the top right hand corner of the video if you want to check those out. Another out the e-tron charging there from the lamppost. You see, it's quite reasonable. Also, if it's not obvious by now, this video should serve a massive warning to all of you who are possibly going to be doing a road trip with me that, yeah, I never leave on time and we will probably get to Plymouth long after the sun has set. But yeah, it's all about the journey, not the destination. And all the EV charging stuff in between.
At the roundabout, take the second exit onto New Kent Road.
In an attempt to avoid all the traffic, I crossed the river on the iconic Tower Bridge, with the Tower of London being to my right. I'm afraid the rest of the journey through Elephant and Castle is anything but exciting, so I just listened to some music before getting back onto the north side of Thames through Vauxhall Bridge, continuing on west until I finally make it out of town. More sightseeing of London to follow towards the end of the video. Just got on the M4 and still with over 90% left, so less than 10% to cover about 17 miles. The efficiency so far has been 6 miles per kilowatt hour, but now I am sitting comfortably at 70. I will put the cruise control on. 72 on the speedo is 70 GPS. So yeah, I will watch the efficiency tank, but still should be quite reasonable. This is a very good start. Forgot that. We are entering a 60 zone, so cruise control cancelled. Down to 50. Great. And actually the Mini has recognized the speed limit, even though that was an electronic sign. Some cars struggle with that. Well done. Approaching the services with way too much charge in the battery, still over 60%, but I want to stop anyways because, as I said, I need to do some admin, and I want to show you the charging situation here because it's a bit peculiar, but good for the customer. Good signage for the GridServe chargers, and I will follow those because the Teslas are basically right next to them. In fact, there are multiple options here. So you see GridServe medium power ones are on this end of the car park. They're the kind of legacy ones you don't want to use. But if you continue going past the car park to the very end, this is where the high power units are, which have been only recently installed. And look at this. So much better. And lots of Tesla superchargers as well. And I honestly don't quite understand why anyone charges on the GridServe ones unless you have like a contract with them as part of your lease, because these Tesla ones are just as easy to use now with contactless payment. And you see off peak, which is right now only 47 pence per kilowatt hour. So let's plug in, and that's charging. Whereas these GridServe ones are 79 pence per kilowatt hour. Definitely a massive difference. Plus, I don't know how well it comes across on camera, but on this small screen it still shows you all the crucial information you would need to know, like charging speed and how much energy has been delivered. So what I'm trying to say is, don't get scammed by GridServe. Use the cheaper, yet as easy to use Tesla superchargers. Easy peasy, at least at this site. Good to go again to the next stop, which is Bristol, specifically Mollie's Diner. I always wanted to go to Mollie's, but never had the chance, so I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to grab lunch and give the car a top-up as well. So I will start the navigation there. It's lovely outside. It literally feels like summer, but yes, still quite windy. What I will do, instead of going out immediately, I will show you the other charging options here at Moto Reading. This is the westbound services. The eastbound, I believe, is slightly different, but very similar. Just by the main entrance to the services, you have got these old, what used to be eco-tricity chargers, and nice. You see they are empty now, so that's a good backup, but they charge very slowly because they basically split power. So if you have someone next to you, you are charging at about 20-30 kilowatts. Trust me, it's not rapid charging by modern standards at all. But that's not all of your options, because if you're really desperate, you can also pull into the BP petrol station. And if you go past the kind of fuel forecourt, right there you have got these very similar looking high power chargers as well. So that's your last option. But BP is quite expensive, not very reliable in my experience, and obviously they would much rather sell you petrol than electricity, so the interests just aren't in the right place in my eyes. So I would much rather use Tesla or GridServe or any of the other charging point operators which are focused solely on providing EV energy. With that mini tour over, I'm back on the M4, cruise control set to 72. I will probably enjoy some music, and yeah, luckily the traffic seems to be quite good so far. Haven't really been stuck anywhere other than obviously London. So yeah, just sitting back, relaxing and enjoying the sun. Hopefully the weather stays this good further down south. In terms of the EV logistics, it's about a 75-mile leg, and because I took so long doing my other stuff, the car got basically to 100%, so I've got plenty of margin. It's currently reporting 99 miles on the charge remaining, which is 93%. It's busy in here, just took the last spot. Okay, there was just a little bit of panic because the payment terminal wasn't working, but GridServe managed to get that rebooted remotely, and it's all good now. So plugged in with 30%, already up to 33, getting the maximum charging speed because it's nice and warm outside. And there's availability for others to come in as well. So there's one more spot. These chargers are the dual-headed ones, and there's also a single slow AC unit here. So now officially time for food. There is an unforeseen problem. I had to get a couple of shots of the site, etc. Got my food, but by the time I actually received the food, the car was already above 90%. And now, if I look at CCS2, I'm at 99% pulling 1 kilowatt. So it's definitely time to go. Since then, I've been joined by a few ID3s and a Cupra Born. Very VW Group heavy setup here. But yeah, time to jump to the next stop. The one takeaway message I would like to point out from this charging stop is that if chargers work and it's only the payment terminal which seems to be not responding, it's definitely worth giving the operator a call, and they can usually reset it. Because I think that's in fact the main reason why there was quite a bit of chaos around the chargers. People were trying to shuffle chargers to move away from the ones which wasn't working, but in fact it was completely fine. And instead of reporting the problem and getting it addressed, it just kind of keeps getting pushed along down the route. And I believe these payment terminals, they don't report faults the same way like the charger itself would. So if the charging kind of fails, then GridServe gets a message on the back end, but that's not the same case for the terminals, I believe. I'm sure someone who is in the industry will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But yeah, anyways, now I'm back on the M5 and we'll continue down south towards Exeter. Look at this. Lots of Tesla chargers. Model 3 Highlands. But these are not open to non-Teslas, so I will use the GridServe ones.
It was a very clear motorway run, so the efficiency has settled at 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour. As expected, that's what I usually get from this, between 3.5 and 4 miles per kilowatt hour on a longer trip, 22% in the battery. Let's plug in. Went into the services, used the bathroom, got my shot of coffee, and I'm pretty much ready to go. But just look at this site. 32 Tesla V3 superchargers, so they can provide up to 250 kilowatts, and if you don't drive a Tesla, you've got these grid serve units, 24 of them in total, each one providing up to 350 kilowatts. Most of them fitted with CCS only, some of them CCS and CHAdeMO for the legacy cars as well. Most importantly, do you see queues and panic around here? No, EV drivers are just getting on with their lives. What a shocker. As usual, I was talking for way too long and doing my videos, so I'm already at 92%, only taking 11 kilowatts, so that's it. Time to stop the charge and resume the trip. 45 miles to my hotel in Plymouth, 97 miles in the battery, which the car is estimating based on 92%. Nice and simple. It's also showing us 22 degrees outside, but I can assure you it's not. It definitely feels a lot more fresh than that. But that's no problem. Which way do I go out now? Exit left. Let's go. This is the last leg of the journey. Rejoining the M5, and if it all works out well traffic-wise, I should get to Plymouth before the sunset and have a chance to enjoy some of the city and the views. Even though the sun isn't really out, to be fair. Lots of grey clouds. I've just arrived to Plymouth, so let's look at the data. 49% still in the battery, so I've got plenty for tomorrow, and the overall efficiency has settled at 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour. That, ladies and gentlemen, that somewhere, that's the sun, and I've been welcomed with this fantastic rainy weather, so yeah, I will see what I get to do. The weather miraculously clears up, so I explore the area, get some food and take in the stunning sunset. All followed by the not so glamorous side of making YouTube videos you often don't see before calling it a night. I'm already on the road in basically Backfast. I'm at the Strawberry Fields site where there is a lot of Osprey chargers. I will have a dedicated video explaining everything you need to know about how these Kempower chargers work and why they are absolutely fantastic. So I spent a lot of time doing that. The car fully charged got here still with plenty of charge left, and importantly the sun has come out, so it's time for a hike. Yeah, this was exactly what I needed, some time in nature. It has, however, highlighted that I'm very out of shape. For that one person interested, it was the Hembury Woods Circular. It's on all trails in the app, very easy to find. Only about 6.5 kilometers, but in my defense, the terrain was quite challenging. At certain times, I honestly thought I strayed off the path into some stream, because one moment you're on solid ground and next step you take, you are ankle deep in mud. Just look at the aftermath, absolute mess. So let me change. Much better. And these dirty ones can go in the frunk. Oh wait, no, it's an electric car, but there's an engine under the bonnet. Great. I suppose the footwell will have to do. Also, if I had to guess, I would say some of that mud was probably animal excrement, so I'm sure a lovely aroma is going to develop in this cabin in the next moments. But nevertheless, let me actually go through the checklist I had for this trip. I wanted to see the sunset in Plymouth. Done. I wanted to get a local vegan fish and chips. Done. I wanted to show you around the Osprey site powered by Kempower chargers. Done. And lastly, I wanted to go on a hike. And luckily, given the weather improved, that's off the list as well. So it's time to start heading home. What an off-road capable vehicle. Mini needs to rebrand this. But before I properly get onto the road, there is one important thing to do. Cake for breakfast at 3 p.m. I hope my mother is not watching this, but if she is, well, I deserve it. Okay, now ready to go.
After I left the farm shop, my initial idea was to stop for a top-up at an MFG station on the edge of Taunton, right off the M5. But it was becoming very apparent that the Mini was a lot more efficient than initially expected, which would mean stopping with still about half of the battery full. Hence, I look up, using voice control, how far it is to Mollie's again, and it looked like I could just about make it the further 45 miles. So I adjust my strategy slightly by dropping the cruise control speed to 70 miles per hour with an aim to get to the grid-served chargers with a comfortable buffer.
I'm at Mollie's diner now, and the plan worked beautifully. So if you look at the trip computer, you can see that the efficiency has improved to 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour. And I looked at the total distance figure, and based on the numbers I've noted down, it turns out I've covered 102 miles since the last charged. Keep in mind there's still 19% or about 20 miles in the battery. That means 120 real-world motorway miles for the Mini with the quite small battery pack. I know you will say your diesel does 600-700. Well, this is a small battery electric car. I think that's quite impressive actually. At 14 degrees Celsius outside with the HVAC set to a comfortable temperature inside. So let's plug in, much less busy than last time. Let's see, is the contactless payment reader working? CCS2, start. All working well. So, food time. Just like last time, the car was pretty much ready to go long before the food arrived, so I departed with 98% in the battery. I'm now down to 95% and the computer is still showing 114 miles remaining, so it should be a pretty uneventful journey back. I've also discovered the reason for the very fantastic consumption today, and that's because there has been about a 20 mile per hour tailwind all the way up towards Bristol. So yeah, even though the Mini obviously can be very efficient, it doesn't break the rules of physics, I'm afraid.
For the last leg of the journey, I stop at Reading eastbound services. Before I pull off the motorway, I managed to spot a Rivian R1T, the first time I actually saw one in the UK on UK plates as well. In my opinion, really interesting electric trucks. The idea is to just do a short top-up here. If I hypermiled, I could just about make it home, but given I don't have off-street parking / charging, I don't want to have to worry about range in the coming days either. Unlike the westbound services, this site unfortunately doesn't feature open Tesla superchargers, but I won't decline the expensive electricity from GridServe on this occasion. I'm happy with 90%, so now for the promised tour of London as I take the route directly through the city centre. On my right is Harrods, a very posh department store. I continue by Green Park and Trafalgar Square, reaching the embankment with the iconic London Eye just across the river. Heading east, I go through the City of London and finally rejoin the so-called highway, getting me back home into the Isle of Dogs.
Now that I'm back, let's run through the final stats. I covered exactly 504 miles in total, with an average speed of just over 47 miles per hour and an efficiency of 4 miles per kilowatt hour, and still had 53% left in the battery on arrival. I looked at all the numbers in detail, and yes, the return journey was a lot more efficient at 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour versus only 3.8 on the way down. The traffic situation was very similar, so I would attribute all of that down just to the weather conditions. What you probably care about is the charging. I had 7 charging sessions in total, including the first one, which was done the night before departure, to get me up to 100%, which totaled to just over £98. Obviously, this isn't quite fair because it doesn't account for the fact that I had leftover charge when I arrived, and I also didn't start exactly from zero during the first top up. So if we adjust for all of those numbers, the total comes out to £95 and 65 pence. So obviously not ideal and very similar to a petrol or a diesel vehicle, but that is what it is in terms of public charging. If you can charge at home, you can bring the price right down to cover the same amount of miles. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it. It's only up to you to draw your own conclusions from this experience. Obviously, what I would highlight is that the infrastructure in the UK has really improved a lot, especially in the last few months. So if you are in the market for an EV or are considering what car to get next,
I would say that if you're doing a similar type of journey to what I've done, only a couple of times a year to visit friends, relatives, family, anything like that, you do not need to fixate to get a big battery, long-range electric vehicle just to cover that occasional journey. You can easily get away with something like the Mini, which is primarily designed for daily city use, and it will handle the occasional longer trip without any problems, as long as you're happy to stop a couple of times to top up. Likewise, if you look at the total energy used, you will see that some of those longer range EVs, like for example the Teslas, the Polestars and so on, those would have covered the entire journey from London to Plymouth on a single charge without having to stop at all and still having plenty of battery left over. So if you lie on the other end of the spectrum and you need to do similar journeys very frequently for business and you do not want to hang about, then there are definitely EVs on the market which can hit those points. Yeah, I think that's about it. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more EV content, because there are still more videos coming on the Mini. And yeah, check out the full Mini playlist in the top right hand corner if you want to learn more about that particular car. Thank you very much for watching again. See you in the next one.